time to delay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the most entertaining, intellectually stimulating financial podcast in the entire world. You're watching the Atomcash Angle, the show that flips the switch and floods the system with straight financial voltage. I'm Atomcash, and I'm bringing you the firepower your financial life may have been missing. Now, whether you're new to trading or a trading savant, I am to turn complexity into clarity with a shot of adrenaline. And today is a very important day. We're already seeing some fireworks here in the pre-market as Microsoft reports I believe the quote is lower AI software sales quotas as customers resist newer products. That's not good. And consequently, the market took a little tumble along with it, now down near that 680 spot. As we were talking about yesterday on the program, these two key areas here are what you want to hold if you're like an Uber bull, like if we're going to get not much of a retest. But the door is open today for a little bit of a downside sweep that I've been talking about basically all week. If you've been watching on Monday and Tuesday, you know that I was highlighting how this was an opportunity this week, and that if we saw that downside move, the end of it theoretically would be Wednesday. Now, I'll give myself a little bit of criticism here that I anticipated the meat of that bear move to be actually on Monday, and then to kind of just bounce around before reversing later today or into Thursday. But it's looking like we might get, I should say, the meat of that bear move today. So we'll see how we behave here. Looking at these two key spots here on the SPY, 679.04 and 678.47 to hold. If these fail, there's a strong likelihood of interacting with this. Is it a I keep saying a Thursday. Is it a Thursday? It is a Thursday. That 3% Thursday big old red candle here. The high of that candle is 675.56. So that is in play today. Potentially another 5 points of downside here on the SPY. Now that would also line you up roughly around your 8 EMA on the daily chart. So not bad confluence there to get a little bit of a sweep to the downside before getting that reversal, which was my original thesis. Just, I guess my timing was a little bit off in terms of days, but still said Wednesday would be the end of that. We should see a reversal. Up until that news this morning, we were looking pretty decent, just still chopping around up here, but the bulls could not break it. Now we're coming back down off the back of that bad news. Now, obviously, Microsoft saying that, having those fears there, is going to spark some fears throughout the Mag 7, mainly due to NVIDIA, Google, Meta, and in a smaller part, Apple and Amazon all having some level of exposure to AI, right? And the future, the next bastion of the stock market, right? So seeing even a little bit of that fear there is enough to spook basically the Mag 7, but mostly Microsoft, as it was the one who was reporting the news. And as we talked about Microsoft earlier this week, I said it actually looks pretty good for a reversal here, but it was a little premature. And if you watched the show yesterday, you saw me live hesitate if I was going to open a swing, and I'm glad I didn't. Because I mentioned how this is one of those names that could reverse, but it really needs to hold that 485 spot first, and I wanted to give it a few more days. Well, now we're under that 485 spot, and it's not good to swing to the upside, at least at this current point in time. I alluded to the fact that I was waiting that this would be I'd rather show up to the party late, right? To show up to the right house, but to show up to the party late than to show up at the wrong house and get a shotgun in the face. That was one of these scenarios here, and I'm happy I didn't, because I'd be sitting on a loss right now if I open a swing position. So there are times where you want to really follow your gut when you're saying, okay, what's the likelihood of this working out? It's a little tight. And I'm happy I listened to myself here, because this was a scenario where I could have got, not wrecked necessarily because I'd buy enough time, but I'd be down a little bit on that play, mainly due to the fact that I didn't listen to myself and say it's not out of the woods yet, and it wasn't out of the woods yet, and I'm happy I listened to myself. Pat on the back. Good job, me. Let's go, me. Good morning to you guys in chat. What's up, Toby? Hope you're doing well. Neegum, good morning, my friend. And EB, what's going on, my friend? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well on this lovely Wednesday morning. So we're going to have an interesting one. The one thing I do want to point out to you guys is that we see the IWM is still green in the pre-market, as is RSP. So it's going to be an interesting thing we're going to want to keep an eye on as the market opens here. Now, we did come down, right? Both of them, I mean, RSP is lower liquidity, obviously, but both of them did come down into the pre-market here. But IWM showing some level of recovery, more so than the SPY and obviously the Qs, kind of like bear flagging down here right now as we're looking at this. I also alluded to the VIX on Monday and said, unless there is a major news event, this up here, or no, where are we? 20, here we go. This high on the VIX more than likely is going to be the high into the end of the year. This, whatever this is, 1818. Said, depending on data, there's a possibility we go 1830, 1850, in the worst case scenario, 2030. Even on this little downfall here, we're only sitting here at 1723. Could there be a markup? There could be a markup on volatility today. I don't really think that is going to happen still. So even though we're going to the downside a little bit, what I said as a possibility of the volatility going up, meaning the VIX going up specifically, was to give credence to the fall here to interact with that 3% Thursday high. Because theoretically, the VIX would go up on that down move, depending on why, the VIX would go up. And the fact that we're only up about 3% on, arguably a pretty sharp move pretty quickly here in the pre-market. You came down about 3 points, so pretty quick, sharp move. And those quick, sharp moves are when the VIX likes to pop, right? And we're only up about 64 cents here on the VIX is not too concerning still. And I still think we're going to see the VIX decay into the end of the year. Like I said, if the VIX gets up into these loftier levels, like I highlighted, the opportunity for the VIX to expand would be today. And assuming the only reason that would happen is if we saw that interaction with that Thursday high and it was a fast one, right? We moved down sharp and quick. That'd be the only way. Otherwise, volatility is going to be still a short into the end of the year. So I actually might open up some swing shorts on volatility today if we get back in this neighborhood, this 18 buck neighborhood. I might open up some swing shorts, especially if VVIX stays pretty compressed as well. So that's kind of my game plan for the day. Into the end of the year, I'm betting on volatility to stay compressed and kind of just slowly trod down. Obviously, looking at the other Mag 7 names here, NVIDIA down in the pre-market. We're going to see probably similar price action. Google down, but not by much, which is interesting considering a lot of the rally on Google recently has been fueled by Gemini, specifically, and the hype behind Gemini. So the fact that Google isn't down as much right now, coming off of AI-related news that customers may not be as interested in some AI products, or there isn't consumer strength there, could be a reason, but is interesting to me to see that Google isn't down more comparatively, unless the market is seeing this as an opening for Google to outperform Microsoft in that realm, as Microsoft is now down about 2.5%. So that could be the way the market's interpreting it. Meta's down, obviously, with the rest of the Mag 7 names here, but kind of holding on to this LOI here at 643.43. The daily on Meta is not out of the woods here. I'm continuously saying that this might round off and come back down. And when it comes back down, and if it breaks that low, waiting for it to base out around 550 again is my long-term, where I'm looking to add equity. Around 500 to 550 is where I want to start buying Meta. I don't think it's out of the woods just yet. And Apple, actually, I think it's doing fine here. Yeah, Apple didn't really care. Apple did not care. Amazon did, because Amazon's got some of that AI exposure with all the robotic stuff it's trying to do, obviously. So interesting pre-market here. We're going to watch it very closely. Get rid of that. Oh, and here's my Tesla. Let's move you back down here. Tesla didn't really care either. So keep that there. All right. So we'll see how the market goes at open here. Going to sound like a broken record because I am sometimes, but you're going to want to be careful on this open. You had a big volatile move really early on in the or I should say late on in the pre-market. So we're probably going to see an expansion of IV, especially on zero-day contracts right at the open. So you're going to want to be a little cautious there because now we're going to have, a gap down. Nothing fantastical considering we closed around 681.53. We're just really erasing those pre-market gains ultimately. And we could just back test yesterday's open and come back down, or open around back test yesterday's close. So it's really not actually as dramatic as this was. It's less dramatic considering the fact that we moved up in the pre-market. We gave back those gains essentially. So we're kind of sitting at a null point here where, yes, the market is still down about $1, but really nothing major if we just exclude the actual price action in the pre-market. So it's going to be something we're going to want to keep a tight eye on as the market opens. Hatchet dropping the good morning, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. And guys, if you haven't already, do drop a like on the YouTube stream. If we hit 15 likes today, we are going to do do I have this already preset? I do. We'll do a 30-minute extension today. I have a headache. I didn't sleep very well, but it's my last stream of the week. So if we hit 15 likes on the YouTube stream, we'll do an extension stream. We'll at least go to 11 o'clock. So if you have any interest in having a little bit more content, doesn't cost you a penny, pop over to YouTube, hit that subscribe, well, actually hit the subscribe button while you're there, but hit the like button. And if you want a little bit more content, you want the show to be an everyday show, if you haven't already, hop over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Once we hit 500 subscribers, this will be an everyday show, and I appreciate your support in advance. And thank you for everyone else who's watching on all the other platforms that I stream on. I appreciate your guys, your eyes, your ears on this lovely Wednesday morning. As we get near the open, we've got about a minute and a half here. We're going to have a little bit of a volatile open outside of the price action, obviously, but Trump is now added to the docket this morning. So we do have PMI at 9:45. Then we have Trump speaking at 10. So that is going to throw a wrench in the works. We also have NVIDIA CEO speaking to the GOP Banking Committee, and then Trump is going to make an announcement at 2:30. So this is going to be a volatile day. These are things that the two Trump things were added that were not there earlier this week. So today, more than likely, is going to be a very, very, very volatile day in both directions. The opportunity for range is there today. You're going to want to be on your toes. You're going to want to stay frosty. If you're not an experienced day trader, you're going to try to day trade. You might come with you might get a little upset here at certain points. So at least be conscientious of when these events are happening. That way you can reduce size, put a stop on, whatever. At least that way you're staying frosty. All right, you want to stay on your toes and be ready to react, because today more than likely is going to be a little bit more volatile. Not in the sense that the VIX is moving up, but that volatility is coming back into the market. So let's get ready to start the day.
The market is about to open. It's time to start the day.
Alrighty, it looks like the market is going to open about $1 down, around 680.55 here on the open right now. So we'll watch this very closely. Let me actually see. I'm sure my spreads that I have open are going to be spready, but let's see. Because I know those are going to be up. There we go. Got a 46 entry on my bear spreads. They're currently, the bid at least, is around 68. So I'm going to see if I can get a closeout today around 70 or so. North of 70 or 80, I'd be pretty happy. So we'll see if we swing to the downside. Again, what we want to watch here in the open are these two LOIs. Very, very key, important levels to keep an eye on as we open here. And also be conscientious that IWM is green, right? And RSP is actually green. RSP is actually moving up a little bit here, right in the early going. So a lot of the weakness here is going to be through tech. It's going to be your Mag 7. I think your Mag 7 are going to get smacked today, at least right now. Trump could say something. We've got NVIDIA's CEO speaking later, and then we got Trump again. So these are things that would obviously more than likely affect not only the market, but the Mag 7 specifically. So it is going to be a day for sure. Toby says, I did not miss the volatility. And Eddie, you know I got this for you, my friend. Eddie is here with the Yer. Drop a Yer right back, my friend. Hope you're doing well. QQQ right now around 619. You got this LOI down here on the Qs at 618.42. So if you're a bull, you're going to want to see that level. You're going to want to see that level. You want to see that level hold. That's what I'm trying to say. SPY right now, we're bouncing around our pre-market POC. So that number is around 680.09. So we can just use 680 as a whole number as more than likely an area of support resistance here. Since we're above it, it's going to act as a support. If we break below that, that's definitely going to put this spot in play for sure. This 679.04, 678.47. I would not act in confidence either direction here. You basically had kind of like a double doji kind of look. I mean, basically the last 1, 2, 3, 4 days we've been chopping in this range here, and you're still in the range. On the daily chart. In fact, our POC on the daily chart is 680.98. And you do have a lot of other price action as we include more time here around 680. So you're in a spot between 681 and 680 where there's a lot of liquidity here. So intraday, we have an opportunity here to chop 681 to 680 and just bounce around pretty harshly. As foretold by my crystal ball, volatility barely moved up, 16.99 on the VIX, only up almost 2%, if that. So volatility, this move isn't, more than likely is not going to stick. Again, if we do see more downside, today is the day for the downside. And in my opinion, that's going to be the end of it. Then I'm bull into the end of the year. Pretty definitively. So we'll see how we react today. Today's the day if bears are going to strike that they sharpen their teeth. Now, if we fail underneath that Thursday high, so that's 675.57, I believe is the number, that's where we're going to have to reevaluate plans there. So we'll see, but as long as we're north of that level today, then you're more than likely going to be a pretty strong bull into the end of the year. So we will see how that plays out as we get more data, I should say, into this open here. RSP still holding green at the moment, with IWM still green but pretty flat, all things considered. The market's looking very directionless for now. Yeah. Not looking, it's not bad, it's not good, it's just very wishy-washy. There's nothing with enough confidence I would be, like, excited about at the moment. I'm just looking at some other names I'm long. Looking at, like I said, like I like to tell you guys, I look at my portfolio, my small cap portfolio, because I get a good mix of large, medium, small cap names, and just seeing how they perform, even outside of your outliers that have like a big day or big down day, like the general consensus of those charts, because these are charts I'm theoretically bullish on, right? Or if I'm short them. But seeing their percentage performance kind of gives me an idea of feel, right, of sentiment. And I'll tell you, out of all the names I'm long right now, the biggest red one is down 1.8%. And the biggest green one is up 1.8%. So we are extremely range bound on my long equity, which is giving me a sign that supports my thesis of chop here on the market, at least at this current moment in time. Ooh, is VCX getting a little bit of a push here? Let me see. Woo! VCX getting a little bit of a push. Gonna keep an eye on that. We can actually set a trigger or an alert right there. This is a name I'm long on, gapped up today, looking pretty good. Getting over this 44.98 level on VCX opens the door to 47, 48, and even eventually 50 if we get some momentum behind it. Full transparency, I am long this name at this moment in time. I've already been long. I've been long. PMI coming in 10 minutes, Trump speaking at 10 o'clock. Where is my... There we go. I don't hate the look on the daily chart of IWM. It's not bad. Obviously, the holiday volume is a little... what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say concerning. It's expected, right? But the last 2 days have also been pretty low volume for IWM. About 31 million, 36 million. Normally, at least when I like to trade IWM, I'm looking at least over like 40 million. So it's a smidge under where I like it, especially yesterday. Which kind of tells me, kind of supports, again, the narrative of some shopping on the market, some price discovery here where the market's not confident up or down. And as you're seeing right now in SPY, like I said, you're more than likely, at least till PMI and maybe Trump talking, going to sit 681 to 680 in this little zone here, in a tight $1 zone here, unless we get like a big volume push either way. But I think that's the more than likely scenario, that we're just going to sit in a pretty tight $1 range here on the SPY. Meanwhile, volatility still, I mean, this is 5-minute candles. Let's go to 1 minute. Open up here, still on the way down. So like I said, I anticipate volatility to decay into the end of the year. We're probably going to close the VIX out on the year at like, I'd like it around 14, but realistically probably around 15. But somewhere in that $14, $15 range, I think, is where we're going to see the VIX close out for the end of the year. VVIX did end up moving up a little bit into the open here, but you're still sub 100, which is typically pretty bullish for the market. I mean, look at the VVIX trend here in general, and this is just daily candles right now. So here, if I can put a line here so you guys can see a little better. 93.75. So this is where we are with a line right now. Make it nice and bold. There you go. So that's where we are on VVIX. As you can see here, a lot of the times where VVIX is down here, it doesn't stay under this level very often, but when it does, if you want to pull this up on your own charts, you can see when we get under, like, again, I'll say 100 just for simplicity's sake. So let's just move this up to 100 so you can see it a little bit more definitively. When you're under 100 here, these are the times where the market tends to have like a pretty calm, sustained rally. So if you don't believe me, feel free to go ahead and check the times where VVIX has been under 100. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, say 95, right? and line it up with SPY or SPX, whatever you want to use. And at those points in time, you'll see that the market tends to have not sharp moves up and down, but tends to have very slow moves to the upside because the volatility of volatility, remember that's what VVIX tracks, is lower. So typically in these times where VVIX is lower, the VIX in general tends to align with just kind of moving to the downside or chopping sideways, which means traders feel more confident in general with their positioning. And as a result, the market kind of just resumes to the status quo. And a lot of the times that's up, right? So that's something you want to be mindful of when you're watching something like VVIX, especially after we had a strong expansion period here on VVIX, getting all the way up to 130, coming back down and getting under that 100 and getting under 95 could be the start of a more sustained calmness in the market. And then obviously depending on your directionality of the actual SPY and everything else, like what you use to analyze, and in this case we're talking about the SPY chopping up here, those two pieces combined with a VIX decaying shows a lot of strength in the market, because it's showing that VIX is coming down, so traders are feeling more calm about the market, right? Those spreads on SPX contracts are getting tighter and tighter. VVIX is coming down, so it's saying the odds of those spreads getting wider is lower. And as we're consolidating here, it supports the narrative of building a base before pushing higher. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. And again, I will reiterate, today is the day. If we are going to see a downside sweep, it comes today. And that's the end of it. As long as we're over, again, 675.56 by close today, we rally to the end of the year. That's my stake in the ground. Put it down. Hold me to it. If I'm wrong, I will say I'm wrong, like I always do. But that's my plan for the stock market. That's my plan based on everything I'm seeing, based on looking at all the data, looking at all the markets. That's where I think and where I feel we're going to go based on everything that we can take in from an information point of view. NVIDIA right now near this 178.80 LOI. You're going to keep an eye on that. As I've said many times, this 178.58 is a very important level for investors. If we get a close underneath this level, if you're long equity on NVIDIA, you probably want to get out of the way. But I will say NVIDIA looks like it's going to try to turn around here, trying to make higher lows here and get an about face before pushing higher. Obviously, today it's going to be a little heavy. As long as it's closing above like 176 today, you're more than likely going to continue trend to the upside. I actually think it's not even going to break this LOI, and if it does break 178.80, it should recover pretty quickly. That would be in the case of there being no one talking, speaking, saying anything, so obviously that could affect it. But I feel like this is about where NVIDIA's done being a bear, essentially. Google basically doing what I said it would probably do for this week, and it's probably going to do the same next week, where we're going to form essentially a repeat of this price action here. Mostly sideways. I mean, obviously this is a more volatile candle here, these weekly candles, but 1 to 2 weeks of sideways to bearish action before getting another push here. I would actually prefer it kind of chops and stays north of 300 for quite some time to build a comfortable base. A la NVIDIA, like when we had this kind of markup and then it kind of chopped before getting another little push. But that's to be seen. At least for now, I would price in 2 sideways weeks of price action here on Google. So this week and next week at least. Now there is range there, like I said, but I wouldn't really think you're going to push too far out of the range here as long as you're north, basically the high of this candle, 306.42. They're going to just bounce around for about a week or two, in my opinion. Microsoft came back down again. I don't love the way Microsoft's been trading. It's been trading like a dog. Again, I said I liked it yesterday. If it held 485, it has not held 485, is gapped under 485. We now have basically like a double gap open here, right? Gap to the upside. So you're kind of leaving like, it's not an island top, but you're leaving an island top-esque move here. Gap up, price action, gap back down to relatively the same spot. So it's not by like a textbook definition an island top, but you do kind of have like an island top look here. Real line in the sand, this 464.79. If this goes, this is dropping to just about 400. So I actually might short Microsoft. I don't want to be a bear into the end of the year, especially on like a Mag 7 name. But if there is weakness, I think you're going to see more bears pile on Microsoft. I mean, look at the daily chart. You got basically a big old double top here. If we pull out here, let's pull it to the weekly, see a little clearer. It's got the room to fall. Like realistically, if it can break under this level, There's not a lot of volume support here. In fact, when we start seeing more liquidities right around like 445, so that's still like a 30-point drawdown here at least. It's real iffy. I'd just be careful. I'd be careful both ways, long or short. It's in a tricky spot. Tesla back over that 433.31 spot yesterday. So I ended up taking that trade on the program yesterday, you saw, and that was a loss for me, unfortunately. So that one just didn't work out. Now up to breaking to the upside there, back tested that level and getting a push here. This is a very important spot here on Tesla. So assuming it can hold this, you're probably going to be good for 450 at least. So we'll see if it comes back down. I'm going to keep a watch on this. I'd rather not get burnt on the same name 2 days in a row, but we'll keep an eye on the spot. I mean, this is clearly the retest. So the break, the retest of that spot, and that was the time to go long. So I might have missed my opportunity here just talking about the market and everything else, but you know, that's okay. I'm not too crazy about it in general. I don't love looking at the Mag 7 names today when we've got kind of like a heavy catalyst. As the crystal ball predicted, the SPY has sat in my range. Obviously peaked up a little bit above 681, but we're basically chopping here. 681, 680. We have data in 1 minute, and we have more data at 10 with Trump also at 10. So this might be a very like hands-off kind of open, at least for me, for my style. If you want to trade it, God bless. But in general, whenever I see very tight price action on the overall market, again, using it as a barometer for sentiment, that tells me that a lot of other names could be influenced very easily when we get a range break, right? Whether that's up or down, doesn't matter. Whatever I'm trading, unless there's like strong news and volume behind it, there could be a lot of influence to push it up or down just because of the SPY's sentiment at that point in time. So I don't really like to play in the playpen when we see that. So I'm going to kind of play it by ear. And to back up my thesis here, to back up my thought of getting a harder move here pretty soon, my SPY bear spread that expires tomorrow, it's a 682, 683 bear spread, is very spready. The ask is at 45, the bid's all the way up at 80. So the fact that those options are also so spready kind of gives me an idea that the market is trying to price in like what could happen here in the short term. So it's not the time to gamble. There's no confidence in either direction at this point in time. The market is very temperamental. It's nervous here. It's not bullish. It's not bearish. RSP has been killing it, though. Look at RSP. So you're probably seeing a lot of names in your portfolio that aren't Mag 7 names performing pretty okay on the open, actually. IWM isn't even performing as well. I mean, percentage-wise it is, but in terms of like looking at price action, not performing as well. So that's interesting. So how I would read this, even though your small caps are still relatively bullish, is that your bigger names, so probably like your Dow names, your 493 of the SPY, not the Mag 7, all the other ones are probably having a decent day here. And I'm gonna be a betting man before we even go to our sectors. I bet you healthcare's up. Nailed it. 0.64% on healthcare. Nice, and look, it's very similar to RSP. Big push here on healthcare. Energy seems like the big winner today, but let's keep that in the back of our mind that energy yesterday was a pretty decent loser. So selling off, gapping back up, we're kind of like returning to normal here in some degree. So take that with a grain of salt in terms of trend, right? If we're looking for what sectors are trending, we're kind of resetting to before yesterday even happened. So I don't really care about that. Consumer staples, again, a nice push here as well. Obviously, tech is our weak sector at the moment today. Real estate, kind of nondescript. Materials looking pretty good at 0.8%. We talked about healthcare. Finances, like you're going to want to watch XLF. I think we're going to see a big push on banks here very soon. Probably waiting for the FOMC meeting. But the way this is looking like we're going to get a pretty decent push here on banks. Yeah, it's looking pretty good for a pop. So in general, I'm going to want to keep an eye on some money coming into XLF as a whole. Consumer discretionary also, this thing got shot down hard and got a nice little rebound. Obviously, you've got Tesla and Amazon in here, so that's going to help influence price to the upside a little bit. Why is this here? State Street. Oh, it's Com Services. They just changed the name. That's weird. And here's Com Services, which, again, pretty nondescript. So Big sectors to watch today. Healthcare's got a lot of price action in terms of like range. So we got good movement here on healthcare, decent movement on banks. Consumer staples actually having a good move. I would write off energy. I wouldn't look at it either which way, just because, again, we're resetting to the norm here. Materials are also having a good day. So like my speculative mind was thinking, it's looking like your names that are not your Mag 7 names are going to be holding up the market as the market just kind of chops along here. So what you'd want to see as a bull today is you're going to want to see some strength come back into the Mag 7. We'll see about that. I wouldn't have a lot of credence. I wouldn't bet the house on a lot of strength in the Mag 7 today. I would be very cautious. Apple looking like it's going to flip down here a little bit. Meta's got an okay move. Amazon's not really getting out of the block here. That was my BR. I put this one out for free on X a little while ago. It's around my entry. It came down all the way to $22, now coming back up. This one's super volatile. For those of you that are like fitness people, this is basically like Dymatize, and they have a bunch of other fitness brands, but I've personally had Dymatize, and I've used them since I was like 18. It's a fantastic product. Yes, the company has issues, of course, but this is a crazy fall. Now, this is a company, if you don't know about BRBR, if you've watched the Celsius trade, this is a company that is a very heavily institutionally owned company. And when this happens, you tend to see like big moves down like this, a la Celsius, when you saw Celsius drop from whatever it was, $110 to like 20. This is in the same vein of that, where institutions will drop the price very high and people get scared, they sell, etc. And they load up on high volume here before ripping it to the upside. So this is a name, if you're patient on, you're more than likely going to get back at least into the 60s. So this is a double up for me if I'm patient on it, and I will be patient on it. Omar says ISO 100 is the best whey protein. Yeah, ISO 100 is great, and I'm mad that I used to pay like $40 to $50 for a 5-pound jug, and now it's like $110 or whatever ridiculous price now. Protein powder has, ever since it got popular by TikTok girls and Instagram people, protein powder is like this elite thing, and it's a great substance in general. It's a great product, but like we're overpricing protein powder. It's nuts. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. Sorry, just checking a few things. Yeah, we're just kind of sitting on the 680, 681. Volatility just kind of chopping around along as well. VVIX mostly moving to the downside here. Not going to be a lot to see on the market. I do want to keep an eye on the market, though, to wait and see when we get a range break and kind of, obviously play off of that. But we're in a very tight range here. So our next data point is going to be at 10 o'clock. Again, Trump speaking at 10. And we have the ISM Services PMI also at 10. So we'll see if that affects the market. We'll see. So far, it looks like the market is waiting for Trump to speak, at this juncture at least. RSP still holding up pretty well. So like I said, although the market's down today, anything non-Mag 7 is probably having an okay day. Even IWM still green on the day, although getting a little bearish here, but still pretty green on the day. So your stocks in your portfolio, if they're not a Mag 7 name, are probably doing like pretty okay. Like today's not looking like a bad day in general. Now, that can change here in a matter of minutes, but at least for right now, things seem very calm, I want to say. A lot of names seem calm. Let's actually go back and see. I like to look at my portfolio to get an idea of if that changed. If you were watching earlier, I mentioned how a lot of names on my portfolio, there's a variance of like 1%. The most red was 1.78%. The most green was like 1.8%. Now that is updated. The most red is 1.1, and the most green is 3.6. So kind of supporting my thesis here that non-Mag 7 names are moving to the upside at this point in time as a whole. Actually, I was just going to say it's probably tech names that are red, and they're actually not. I've one tech name that's red. The other ones are not tech names. So looking pretty okay in terms of sentiment in general. Maybe we'll look around to see if there's something out there to trade. I'm really waiting on closing out my spread here. We did break that 680 spot, so we're going to watch this very closely. Like I said, we need to see how the market interacts. Well, first pre-market low, and then at this 679.04 and 678.47 spot, as that's going to be an interesting spot on the day. If these levels break, I'll make it abundantly clear, because this is valid for when I'm still live or if I'm not live. If these levels break, you do open the door to 675, 57, 52, whatever it is, the high of that Thursday 3% candle. So, and the next LOI under that is 673.95. I don't think that will happen unless Trump says something awful, for at least the market will see it as awful, or unless NVIDIA's CEO says something awful, which he has no interest in doing that, obviously. But realistically, your range to the downside is right around that mid 675 spot. Toby says relevant catalysts are Trump's announcement today, jobless claims tomorrow, PCE on Friday. Let's double check. So we got Trump twice today, like I said, at 10 o'clock. And then again, he's making an announcement at 2:30. So watch that. NVIDIA's CEO today is at 2, meeting with the GOP Bank Committee. I don't know. I haven't looked into this. This could be a closed door meeting. It could be whatever. They could come out afterwards, beforehand, say something. So at least be aware of it is why I'm bringing it up. Let's look forward to tomorrow. That's it for today specifically. Tomorrow, we do have jobless claims, 8:30 in pre-market. We got 2 Fed speakers tomorrow. Bowman at 1. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Just Bowman at 1 o'clock. And then rounding out the week on Friday, PCE and Michigan sentiment, both at the same time at 10 o'clock, with factory orders as well. And consumer spending. And consumer credit. So Friday at 10 o'clock, everything but consumer credit that I just said, it's all happening at 10 o'clock. So you're going to get a lot of data Friday at 10 o'clock. But then the only other thing on Friday is at 3 p.m. consumer credit, which sometimes affects the market. But that's everything you got to watch out for. And as I like to call them, the more random events, because people speak and what they say can be interpreted different ways. Whereas when we're looking at hard data, we can determine if this, then this, right? Theoretically. But data can only be interpreted one way. So the more random catalysts are when people are speaking. Today, that would be Trump at 10 and Trump at 2:30. And then if NVIDIA CEO ends up speaking at 2, like we'll see, I don't know. But outside of that, you have Bowman tomorrow at 1, which is the only thing for like random catalysts in terms of people saying things that may hurt or help the market, right? So we don't know about that. Yeah, you better apologize, Toby. Toby said, my apologies. How could I miss Michigan sentiment? It is the most important catalyst. I love playing Michigan sentiment. Whenever there's an opportunity to play Michigan sentiment, it is always a fun time. You typically get at least a 1-point push on IWM. It's always a good time if you get in a good entry. It's always a fun thing to trade. And everyone sleeps on it. I love trading it. It's great. It is great. When the opportunity presents itself, it always opens the door to a nice trade, typically. Oh, the market is draining the life out of me right now, sitting in this range. Can't say I didn't tell you at the open that this is probably what's going to happen. We were 1 or 2 minutes in the open. I said we're going to sit 680, 681. Here we are, 3 minutes right now. Market now is more than likely just going to wait for Trump here to speak. Looking across the board at a few other things here. Let's see. There's a lot of indecision. Yeah, there's a lot of indecision right now, and a lot of it looks just chop. There's no one who's really staking their flag in the ground right now as a like definitively like, yes, we're being bullish. A lot of money being put on the line or anything. I'm talking about that from an options flow point of view. If you're looking at, for those of you that look at GEX, VEX, and checks. nothing is like showing significant confidence one way or the other, which tells me we're waiting for something to happen. And when that something happens, that's typically when we get obviously a big move, which I'm saying we sit in range bound, we break one way or the other. We're waiting for information essentially at this point before the market says trend up, trend down. That's what it's looking like, at least at this point in time. So I'd just be a little cautious on that, especially as we're heading into 10. Guys, if you haven't already and you're enjoying the stream, you want to hang out a little bit longer with me, do me a quick favor, drop a like on the YouTube channel. Right now we got 8 likes. We get it up to 15. I will extend the stream to at least 11 o'clock. We can keep going after that. Depends how interesting things are, but we'll go to at least 11 o'clock. So if you want to hang out a little bit longer, get a little bit more content, feel free to drop a like on the YouTube stream. Thank you all for your support. Hatchet says Bitcoin above 92K. If it holds, that's bullish. Yeah, Bitcoin last night, a little crazy, right? I'll pull that up real quick. I woke up this morning. You know the meme of the guy getting out of bed and he's like, oh, and he looks at his phone or whatever? That was me. I got out of bed. I'm like, what the hell happened? Yeah, Bitcoin. Big move on Bitcoin. Yesterday's low was 87,000. Big push up to 93,000. So that's about 6,000 on Bitcoin. The daily candle is a 7% daily candle. So pretty solid here. And I would agree with you here, Hatchet. Getting over, I would call it 93. I said if it stays over 93, it looks more bullish. Because you can clearly see here's an area of resistance coming down, back up, rejected again around this 93 spot, and then even off this big green candle we got overnight, again, a little bit of rejection there. So I'd call it 93. If it holds over 93, you're more than likely going to mark back up to 100 on Bitcoin. So yeah, crypto's looking ready. It's looking okay. It's looking like it wants to turn around. It's looking good. I want to be careful. It's not too good. It's looking okay. It's looking like it has the ability to be good. Let's stick with that. All right, we got 10 o'clock right now, so let's see. And I'll pull up my news aggregator to see what we got going on. IWM services basically came in as expected. Actual was 5.26. Forecasted was 52. I'm sorry, 52.6. Forecast was 52. Previous was 52.4. So a little bit of a beat, but nothing fantastical either which way. Getting a little bit of volume off of that right now. So we'll see what happens here for another minute or two. Google holding green on the day. NVIDIA trying to form some level of a base here before rounding out to the upside. Microsoft is trying to hold it together. I don't have any faith it does, but it's trying. I kind of want to open a bull spread on NVIDIA for the end of the year. If NVIDIA holds this like 178.80, I'm more than likely going to open a bull spread on NVIDIA for the end of the year, because there's a chance it kind of kicks around in here. But I do think it's going to close the year at least over like 187, 188, 185 worst case scenario. If it closes above today, 178.80. So getting a spread in this scenario would be pretty solid to play that sideways action a little bit. So I'm theorizing a spread on NVIDIA later. Not much love off of that PMI data, as we're still sitting mostly range bound. We don't have a range break yet. Banging our heads against the top of the range here on SPY. RSP cooling here. Looks like it's about ready for another leg up. IWM looking pretty good, actually. If you can get through these two LOIs, it's looking like some good move to the upside here. And the Q's a little shaky. Found support at that 618.42 LOI, so it's going to try getting on the bounce off there, getting a little bit of a push here. Okay volume. Shaky. Shaky. SPY's broken the range to the upside. I'm not buying this. When I say buying this, I mean believing this yet. Good 5-minute reversal here. I don't trust it. I be honest, I don't trust this move yet. Not yet. So this is how Trump speaking works, in case you don't know. Trump will schedule a time to speak, and then he'll typically, and if you're in the Discord, we make jokes about it all the time, he'll typically wait a full hour or longer after the scheduled time to then speak. So, although we're expecting Trump to speak it now, he may not speak until 11 because he does that. By the way, just a quick question for you guys watching. Is the stream quality better by chance? I changed a few things. I know sometimes it gets a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Fuzzy. And I changed a few things. The quality should be a bit better today. And going forward. Dare me to short it. I'll tell you what happened in a second here and why the quality is better. Looking at the 681 puts. All right, I'm going to pick up some 681s here. Okay, I'm long the 681 puts at 101. Let's see. And I'll tell you why the quality is better today in a little bit. Let's see. Toby said, yes, it is. No spinning circles today. Toby, noticeably better and more stable. Quality seemed good. Hell yeah. I was on the phone yesterday. Because as you guys may or may not know, I'm in the process of moving. I was on the phone yesterday for 2 hours with Spectrum. I hate Spectrum. Nice guy, though. Great guy. The customer service rep at Spectrum was really solid. Very nice, because sometimes you get people who hate their lives. So he was actually cool. He was a cool guy. But it was a 2-hour process. Long story short, they were just throttling my speed for some reason with no actual reason why. Needless to say, I was pissed. So long and short of it is I got a good chunk of change back and made sure that my speed is now what it should be, and we're up to 1 gig. So I've got the speed I should be getting. So it all's well that ends well. So because I've been running speed tests, I'm like, I don't get it. And they've been throttling my speed. So if you have that issue and your speed gets throttled noticeably sometimes, then make sure you reach out and get your money. All right, I'm going to take a trim here. It's about 9% on the trim. Basically, I'm trying to see if we break back into our range here. So getting back range bound and then pushing a little lower. Trim again here. There's 0 days, so I don't want to be too sorry, I'm multitasking. I don't want to be too defensive. Patient. I'm looking right here. Like 681 to 45 is probably where I'll go runner size on this. If we bounce here, I'll probably slap a stop on. Looking pretty solid. Give me a little bit more. I'm looking for like 125 a contract, hopefully. Sitting at there we go, 122. There it is. All right, trimming some out here. Gonna go runner size here. There's 26%. Remember, if you're in the Discord, you're getting this exactly at the same time as I'm doing it on YouTube. There is a delay, so if you want to check out the Discord, the link's in my bio. I'm going to trim a quarter runners here. That's 30%. Going to slap a stop loss on at break even. And now we chill. You guys know me, I like to fish. I wait 37 minutes to make my trade, but I make my trade, I call my shots, and we take them. And if you're in the Discord, one thing you know about me, I have very specific circumstances when I short the market. And actually, my track record for shorting indexes, SPY, Qs, and IWM is better than my overall track record with all my trades. I'm more accurate as a bear because I'm very particular when I'm a bear. So we're going to wait and see. Basically what I'm looking for this trade now, I'm at 3/4 runner size. So in context, just to explain, if I had 100 contracts, when I go to runners, I'm at like 20 left. And then each one's a swath of 5, theoretically, right? Because 5 of 20 is a quarter. So if I have 15 contracts left, my next target's right around here, around this like 680, 86-ish spot, the POC. Then I'd go half runner size. And then I'd drop my or another quarter down here on the low a day. And then I'd ride just a quarter size if we got like a meltdown move to that 675 spot. So that would be the master plan here. Toby says, service providers are the worst. I think that's a universal problem a lot of people have. And hash it with a GG. Yeah, good game, my friend. Hopefully you made some money. So something else I learned, because this is not something I knew. My wife is like, I knew that. I didn't know this. If you call, specifically Spectrum, and even the guy on the phone told me this, if you call them once a year, around the same time, so when your plan like renews or whatever, they have endless promotions because they want to remain competitive. So essentially, he told me, he's like, yeah, I'll be honest with you. If you're paying anything north of like $60 for internet, you probably could pay less if you just called us. So for any of you that are listening, if you're paying at least $60 for internet and it's at least a gig, you could probably get cheaper, unless you're out in the boonies and you got to run Starlink. But outside of that, you probably get cheaper internet. That's what I learned. So hopefully that saves you guys money out here. We do it all on the Atomcash angle. We give you entertainment, we give you stories, we make you money, and we save you money. Only the best for you guys. I'm a frugal guy. I've been a frugal guy my whole life. There ain't nothing wrong with it. Sometimes it's the principle too. I'm sure you guys understand that, where there's principle of sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes it's $1 or $2, but it's the principle. Like that matters more than the money sometimes. All right, we're getting near that POC, so just get ready. That theoretically would be about $1.50, $1.55. Again, we're looking at the 50 MA, the purple line here, and that green dotted line. That's my next trim spot. MACD on the 1 minute starting to flip, and bulls are losing momentum here. So if they don't pick it up very soon, we are going to get a sweep. Did just break the green SAR here as well. But keep in mind, that just kind of puts us range bound. So there's a probability or good probability of chopping here. It's part of the reason why I chose the 681 puts though, because that would put us in the money. So that deleverages some risk versus buying even further out the money, like looking at like 679s, where if we do end up just chopping in here, I could get bullied out of my trade early. Hector says, at $55 for 400 megabits, it was about 80 until I called. Yeah. I didn't know this. Apparently my wife knew this and she did not tell me. She looked at me like I was stupid. She's like, you don't know that? I'm like, no, I don't know that. Why would I know that? So I felt dumb, but hey, live and learn, right? And that's why I'm here to, maybe you guys don't know and I'll tell you, and maybe one of you guys learn and you save $30 a month. No shame in your game. POC has moved up to this spot, so that's that green dotted line. So that's where the most volume today has traded now, is right here. So right at around 681.14 is the new POC. So this is probably going to get stopped out here if we get a little bit of a rally in the next 2 to 3 minutes. So I'm going to give it the 2 to 3 minutes here, or maybe even 2 minutes. If we break above, we'll call it this high of this candle, the 1010 candle. So if we break above, call it 681.70. I'll close my trade. So that way I still close some in profit. I don't just wait because I have a stop loss on to get stopped out. And I can re-enter if I want to. So trade is set. You guys know the plan. 681.70 is where I'm going to cut out if we break above that. If not, we ride. That's the game plan. Those who fail to plan, plan to fail. Let's see how other names are doing. Oh, man, my baby girl Crocs is looking pretty good. $88.13. We get the bush. Hell yeah. All right, trim a quarter runners here. Wonderful. Ah, there we go. 55%. So now I'm only in half runner size. So again, using that example of 100 contracts, 20 is my runners. I trimmed a fourth of my runners twice. And again, this is my trading style. You do whatever you want. So if I had 20 runners at that point, I trimmed 5, now I have 10. So my next trim point, again, giving you guys the plan here, the low a day, or maybe even a little premature here on the open low, which is 679.94. That's where I take another, in this case 5, if I'm using that 100 example, off, and then ride the rest. Move a stop loss off, like whatever you want to do at that point, you can. But that's what we'll keep an eye on. Let's see, Q's coming down a little bit as well. IWM doing pretty okay. It's got to break out of these two LOIs here. Like I said, I do like it the way it looks on the daily chart here. It looks ready to push, which is great because IWM tends to get a hard rally into the end of the year. As we talked about earlier last week, how IWM pushed much harder than the SPY and the Qs, and as did RSP. From that Thursday fall, we pushed much harder and eclipsed it much quicker. So a lot of the opportunity, I think, as a long bull, is going to be in IWM and adjacent names like that, or in, as I like to say, the 493 of the SPY. Your names that are not Mag 7 names, I think, are going to have more opportunity than the Mag 7 names into the end of the year. VIX has kind of just melted down. You got a little bounce there at the 653 spot, so the LOI right there. A little bit of a bounce, but still on its path to the downside, as the crystal ball has foretold. And VVIX also trending lower as a whole as well. NVIDIA just kind of, fussing along. Nothing to see there. Google kind of forming a little deformed cup and handily kind of look here, intraday. A little bit of a cup action here, a little bit of handle. Not bad. Looking a little cup and handily. I just I don't have interest in the Mag 7 today. If I did have interest in the Mag 7, I could consider a long here on Google. But again, remember what I said about the weekly and the daily on Google. You're playing a tight range. You probably got room to like 320, so like $3, which is still good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not too. There's not a lot of meat on the bone, right? Like for example, I wanted to be a bear today on SPY, if anything at all, because if again the bears were to hop on, like I thought it was Monday, right? But between Monday and Wednesday this week, essentially, I'm saying there's a period of weakness for the market. Whether we chop or go down, that's what we're doing. We're either chopping or going down. So opening up, establishing, I should say, a bear position as the market pushes to the high point is what's most advantageous than trying to long on bounces, at least today, specifically. Let's see if Trump ended up talking yet. We got 8 likes on the stream. Can we get it up to 15? Otherwise, we're wrapping things up here in about 14 minutes. So if you haven't already, pop over to YouTube, hit that like button, and we will roll on to at least 11 o'clock. At least. We may go longer. Depends how much fun I'm having. Commerce Secretary Lutnick is speaking right now. I don't know if he was scheduled to speak, but he's been speaking actually since 10:05. Tariffs aren't to blame for negative ADP figure. Okay, sure, bro. Prices don't move unless tariffs are above 15%. Blah, 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 blah. It just seems like political jargon for the most part. I deal with time. Blah, 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 blah. I'm just scaling this to bring you guys anything of importance. This could be good for semiconductors. We have to train 5 million Americans for chips jobs, so it's showing that we're trying to reshore manufacturing with microchips to the U.S., so that might help NVIDIA here, maybe? Yeah, a little bit. Oh, we're near my cut point up here. We wicked above it, so if we break above that, that's where I'm going to cut it. Again, 681.70. And I have a stop on, so this would just be me closing the runners in profit, essentially, before the stop triggers. So give another second here. See if we close above that level. It's looking like we will get a reversal here short term. All right, I'm going to close them out. Closing in profit. It's looking like you might get a little bit of a short-term reversal here on the SPY. Possibly. Got some more bull momentum coming in. MACD's trying to shift. Volume is just kind of meh. So as you guys know, or maybe you don't know, I like to look for 100K volume on the SPY, or 100K volume on the SPY per 1 minute, or 500K per 5 minute to kind of give me a barometer of market participation. SPY is one of the most widely traded names every single day, one of the most popular names traded every single day. So when we see lower periods of lower volume on SPY, not that it's bad or good, but it gives me an idea of how many people are actively participating in the market that day. So during periods of lower volume, I tend to pull back specifically day trading because my risk increases. Because as we talked about before in this program, when there are periods of lower volume, there could be bigger moves either which way, or nothing could happen at all because people are not interested in the market, or a big bull or a big bear comes in and pushes price and bullies it harder than it would otherwise because the level 2 is not stacked up as much as it would be on a normal day. So right now what we're seeing for 10:20 in the morning, volume's already kind of scaling off a little bit here today. So the last few 1 minute candles, 84K, 84K, 53K, 98K, 114, 147. Not fantastic. Let's look at our 5 minute. Yeah, 5 minute volume clearly dropping here as well. Last 5 minute close was above 500 though, so 670. The current 5 minute candle we're over 500 as well. So there is good amount of volume still. It just looks short term very blasé. That is the word I'm choosing. We are choosing the word blasé. So we are making a lower high here. I really hope this isn't the entire day where we sit in this, like, I mean, the last 2 days have been like that, where we basically sat in a 3-point range, and the door's open to sit in a 3-point range today. 682, 679. We could sit in a 3-point range again. I really hope we don't do that again. Fear and greed index is at 27, so it's at fear. Yesterday's close was an extreme fear. I can't wait till the market's at 770 and we're in extreme greed. Or we're still in extreme fear. The market's SPY's going to be at 770. We're still going to be in extreme fear. Watch. Stupid. Stupid. Let's look at Crocs, because Crocs is actually having a good day. We're up at almost 4%. Take a little peek. A little update on Crocs. Near this localized high on Crocs, around 89.01. My short-term price target where I stick my flag in the ground is around $100. Basically like the gap fill up here, 102.51. That's what I'm looking at here short-term on Crocs. I am long around this level down here, whatever it is, 77. I added more, so this isn't 100% exact. But the risk to reward on this trade is fairly solid. And you got more gaps to fill to the upside. I feel like this is one of those names that's going to be hated on, and it's going to rally, and people are going to run in late on. Because it's going to be a stupid name like Crocs. Rubber shoes are going to all-time highs. I'm telling you. Another name to keep an eye on is Path. Around 1450, right? 1454 is at 50% retracement on the daily. They do report after hours today. You also have the 50 MA here. You've also had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green days in a row. So it is a little overextended in terms of directionality. You would look at that in a vacuum and say that just because you have 7 days in a row. However, the flip side of that coin is it really is just mean reverting, right? Because it was chopping around this 1450 point here for quite some time after coming down, right? Chopped around here, basically V-bottomed, and now we're back where we were. So this is one of those scenarios where in full transparency, I'm bullish on Path. I have equity and leaps and calls and whatever. I've got a lot of stuff on Path. Where if they have earnings and they outperform here, probably going to get in this range up here of at least like north of $16. And from there, the way the options chain is stacked up, if it can find volume above that, it look pretty solid to the upside. Downside, Yeah, you got it both ways. Actually, the expected move, quick math, about $1.50. So yeah, $1.50 from here brings you to $16. $1.50 to the downside brings you to 13, which sits you on this LOI here at 12.98. So, and with the GP just north of that, between 13.29 and 13.55. It's an interesting setup here going into earnings, especially looking at the daily and the weekly. If it breaks over that 16-17 spot, this weekly could get very volatile. It's an interesting name. I'm very curious to see what they say on the conference call today in regards to partnerships and all the AI fun stuff. So that's what has my ire this week is this after hours today. I will be watching very closely. RSP just kind of chopping along here. SPY making another lower high, perhaps. We'll see. Again, we're making a pennant and a pennant kind of thing where we're just kind of chopping along. Q's just echoing the same kind of sentiment. Meanwhile, IWM, as I've said and will continue to say, is showing the strength here. If it can get some sustained push above this 247.18, that actually could be enough juice, assuming that the Q's don't suck eggs in the corner. It could be enough juice for SPY to get a little bit more of a push here. So we're going to have to keep... These two levels aren't going to be an easy break for IWM. As you can see, we've bounced around here, rejected it there. So this is not an easy spot for it to break. But if it does break it, you got another $1.30 here on IWM. So decent push here, which it will roll over to the SPY and get some bullishness here on the SPY. That could be negated if money outflows from the Qs, though. So keep that in mind. Volatility, the VIX just went red again on the day, basically triple bottoming on this 1653 spot. I'm probably going to close out my spreads now. I know something could happen later, but I'd rather have more profit than no profit. Let's see. Just because it's looking like there's a chance we could push higher here. And on the off chance that happens, I want to take my bear protection off, because that's essentially what it was, me protecting in case there was some larger downside here. The fills on this thing are atrocious right now. There we go. All right, I'll put that out. Closing spreads in profit. So now I don't really have exposure to the market. Closing spread at 0.48. And so now I'm more interested in SPY upside, but I'm going to wait and see. Like I said earlier, we do have more catalysts today to give you guys a game plan for the day, because we're going to wrap things up here, because unfortunately we only got 10 likes. I've got 103 people watching. I didn't think 15 likes would be a big deal, but it is what it is. I get it. But I'm going to give you the game plan either way. So what I'm actually looking for here is still that downside sweep. And if and when that happens, I would look to open potentially a bull spread on NVIDIA, and a bull spread and possibly directional calls on SPY into the end of the year if we're getting down to that 675.50 spot. Now, again, we've got Trump, which he still has not spoken, but he will speak at some point, right? He's going to speak again at 2:30, which, again, he likes to be an hour late, so probably 3:30. And if something happens with the NVIDIA CEO today, enough random catalysts baked into the market for the rest of the day that you kind of want to do at least in my opinion, what I call fishing day. Fishing day is when you pick your spot on the market and you say, okay, if this, then this. So in this scenario, I don't touch anything, at least relation to the SPY specifically. I don't touch anything unless it fills my criteria to take an action. In this scenario, I'm saying Again, if this, then this. So if we interact with the 675.50 spot, or at least down here somewhere, and we start to make a reversal, etc., then I will open a long on the SPY. If NVIDIA post the CEO speaking still sits north of 178.80, then I will more than likely open a bull spread. So these are the things I'm interested in, where I'm not going to try to guesstimate what's going to happen here short term, because I don't know. Trump could say, hey, we're going to go bomb Russia. I don't know. Putin talked yesterday. Maybe he's going to, I have no idea, right? I'm not going to pretend that I do either. And I'm not going to pretend to know how the market's going to react, because I don't know, because that's a random thing, right? Trump's going to make an announcement at 2:30. I don't know what the announcement's about. Do you? Let's find out. Let's see if there's actually any data on this real quick. Trump makes an announcement. That's literally... This is kind of funny. Can I share this? Hold on. Let me see if I can share this real quick. It's just a funny screenshot. You're not going to see anything for a second. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Put that there. All right, let me see. And all right, screen share. This should work. This is when I click on the announcement. It's just the pursed lips, and Trump makes an announcement. What is it? Stay tuned and find out. I have no, like, this doesn't give me any information. So when we see stuff like this, could be about healthcare, could be about Ukraine, could be about rare earth metals, could be about microchips. I don't know what it's about. I'm not going to pretend to know what it's about, because I don't know. So theoretically, could affect the market in a myriad of ways that I would not know. So I have to wait until that happens to feel more confident in my decision making, mainly due to the fact that we have no guarantee.
It's about to open. It's time to stop.
Sorry. What could affect the market? So I'm not going to pretend to know either. So I would heavily suggest you consider, again, you have your own trade style. My trade style that I like to implement, I like to say, is more stress-free. I really, really, really like to hang my hat on that what I've cultivated over the years of trial and error has moved towards a more stress-free style of trading. Because sitting at your desk, you can get a heart attack trading like this, and you can make a lot of mistakes and lose a lot of money, whatever. It's stressful. It can be very stressful. And if I can alleviate the amount of stress as much as I can, I think that's extremely beneficial, right? I want to live a long life. I can make all this money in the stock market, but it means nothing if I die tomorrow. Can't take it with me. So I like to have a very stress-free kind of trading style, and that's why I'm sharing this with you, to tell you guys today, based on the current price action, based on the VIX, based on everything we've talked about for the whole stream. If you've been sitting here this whole stream, you got a lot of information. Based on everything we've discussed today, it is a fishing day, as I call it. It's a time where you sit and wait. You set if this, then this parameters for whatever stocks you like. I just talked you through two things that I'm going to do with SPY and NVIDIA. I'm probably going to look for a few more when I close off the stream. But I set these if this, then this, these actions, and just wait. Set alarms and wait and see. And if those levels trigger, you know what to do. Again, plan to trade. Those who fail to plan to fail, right? Make a plan and stick to it. Especially when we're in, I would argue, a trendless environment, although this is technically a bull trend, but we're in a very choppy environment where there's not a lot of confidence either direction right now. You don't want to just be randomly throwing stuff against the wall, unless you're like me and you took a short position at the high and you made your money quick and got out of the way kind of thing. Outside of that, like, this is honestly, outside of this move here and this move here, those were the most actionable trades today on the SPY. If we're just looking at this, otherwise you're kind of guessing and hoping you're getting a big pump dump candle here. But those are the only two actionable trades: getting this pump, getting this dump. That's it. Nothing else is really actionable here. So you don't want to pretend like it is. So that's what I'll leave you guys with. Clorox says the announcement is about his announcement tomorrow at 2:30. That would be funny. It would be hilarious if he made he makes an announcement. It's scheduled for 2:30. The announcement starts at 3:30, and it's about his announcement tomorrow at 2:30 that will also start at 3:30. That would be good. Toby says, Google my goat, waiting patiently to rip faces again soon. Yeah, man, give it another week, and I think you're gonna proceed to the upside. Ideally, another week or so. I think might even close the week out green, but I think think you might get a little downside here short term, but it's sitting pretty. Hopefully you build a little base up there. Anyway, guys, it's going to wrap it up for me for today and for the week. I hope you guys enjoyed the program. You liked it. You stuck around. And for those of you that were here all 3 days, appreciate you stopping by. If you haven't already, make sure you pop over to the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Again, when we get to 500 subscribers, the market's just going to rip as I'm ending the show. This always happens. This always happens. I sit through a slog of boring price action. I want to rip my eyes out, and I have to stare at paint dry. And I have to make paint drying interesting. Here I am, once again, torn into pieces. Can't deny it, can't pretend. What a reference. Yeah, Microsoft getting a little bit of a pop here. Hold on, I'll stick for another minute. Let's see if we got news or something. Refreshing. Good volume on this little Microsoft pop. That 485 spot's going to be an area of resistance now, so be mindful of that. So if you're already long Microsoft, watch that 485 spot as you come up to it. I don't see news. You guys have news on that? Hold on. Microsoft. Let's see. Latest. Doesn't look like there's actual news. So it could just be a reversal. Based off that volume, I'm assuming something happened. Unless someone just loaded a bunch of calls and popped it. It's possible. I don't see news. So unless you guys can tell me there's news, I don't see news right now. Oh, maybe this is it. Microsoft Foundry product for agent building is failing to provide ROI, causing Microsoft to lower internal sales. That's not bullish. Eddie says maybe you just have to make your shows go to 11. Dude, I am hungry. I start my day at like 4. Actually, today I started my day at 3:30. I'm been around now for 7 hours. This morning I had a hell of a leg day. I am hungry. My lunchtime is now. I am a growing boy and I need to eat. And I'm not going to eat on stream. It's just not going to happen. Wow. And how about closing out those bear spreads, right? Didn't make a lot of money on my exit on my bear spreads, but closed them out because I realized there was a chance that we could pop to the upside. And there it is. Toby coming in the clutch. The company has not lowered sales quotas targets for its sales. Okay, so we're just... Oh, God. All right, so we have news that causes the stock to dump. Then we have news essentially disputing the original news, thus causing price to revert. Toby, you nailed it. Fake news. So dumb. I said to my wife this morning, I'm like, I need a break. Sometimes I can't with the stock market. You love it and you love to hate it sometimes. It's just like oh, why? Like, I'm getting too old for this. I'm not even that old. I'm getting too old for this. It's just that feeling sometimes like I just want a vacation. I just need a reset every once in a while. With that being said, let's update a few things and then I'll go. So you guys will get a little bit of an extension. I would still be very cautious on your Mag 7 name. So let's just flip through real quick. NVIDIA got a little bit of a pop there. Microsoft, again, watch for the re-rate essentially. So in that case, I'd get you back to about 490. But from a technical basis, 485 is going to be a wall. And you got the 200 MA here acting as resistance. So between here and 485, if you trade supply-demand, treat that as like a supply zone. So I wouldn't get too hype. If you're already long calls, I'd definitely take some profit here. If that was me. This is going to be a tricky spot for Microsoft. I don't anticipate it to break, be honest with you. Even though the news is reverting the bad news theoretically. This is a good look for NVIDIA. I would be cautious on NVIDIA because we have a catalyst specific to NVIDIA later today, which who knows? We'll see. Meta. Apple came down on that, which is interesting. Tesla's just been ripping. I'm a little salty for the calls that I took an L on yesterday because I was so confident we stay over this 433.31 spot. It's going to go. And yeah, it moved $11. Just day late, dollar short. Happens sometimes. Amazon going to curl up here. Yeah, you got to still have a mixed bag on your Mag 7 name, so I would exercise some caution, mainly because a lot of the heavy lifting right now is by NVIDIA, actually. So even though Google's coming up a little bit, you're making higher lows. Again, this fancy cup and handle pattern-ish worked out here. And Microsoft got that pop. Obviously, because we have a catalyst later for NVIDIA and we're aware of that, this could be a liquidity sweep to the upside before coming back down. So I would still exercise some level of caution. To be abundant... Whoa, what the hell was that? That was a big wick. All right. To be abundantly clear, because I know I've sounded very bearish this week, that ends like today. My outlook for the end of the year is still a $700 price target on the SPY. It has been for months, and I still think we're marching towards that, and that my thesis is very well supported by everything I've talked about today, and by specifically volatility and VVIX, which we've also talked about today. So although I've sounded more bearish, I've played more bear trades this week in general, it was more of the market needs to cool and reset a bit because last week was so strong. It was so bullish, right? We had such a big move that we need to cool again before we get another leg to the upside. We can't just go up in a straight line, so to speak, right? So, and that's what we did this week. I mean, look at the daily candles. You don't believe me. We didn't go anywhere. We chopped sideways. I was anticipating more downside. The day's not over. Could still happen. But we just kind of traded sideways, which is totally fine because you want to see, honestly, this is the most bullish outcome if we're staying north of that 679.04 spot. You want to see consolidation after a rip. This is, price was down here, hard rejection, right? The market said, no, this is undervalued. We moved up. Now we're determining fair value. So now we're comfortable up here before we re-rate to the upside, break all-time highs, and break $700 into the end of the year. Okay. Let me read the chat. I'm going to get out of here. Hatchet said the first news came from the information, which can be fake, bad source. Well, you think the market would know that, meaning like hedge funds or whatever, or they're just going to use whatever information to push their narrative. That second part is the true part. Toby says, I need to learn more and not care about the market. Yeah. Yeah. Annoying. It does get annoying sometimes. Tom says, yeah, dude, when was your last vacation? My last vacation was my honeymoon. My honeymoon was last May. So I'm still within a year, like every year. But I will tell you this. I think, and if you don't know this, if you don't do this every day or whatever, I think trading is probably one of the most mentally exhausting jobs. It's not like I'm out there on an oil rig. I'm not going to pretend that I am. But I think it is very mentally fatiguing because it really pushes your ability to balance discipline and really like your belief in yourself and self-doubt. So you do have to control a lot of mental emotions, and that can be exhausting. And it is sometimes, it is. And I don't want any of you guys to feel like, if you do feel sometimes mentally exhausting, because not only that, you have to regulate your emotions. You have to, it's unnatural for us not to have happy or sad reactions to the market. So you can't really operate in the realm of being a strict robot. What you can do is have strong discipline and use logic a lot of the time. Sometimes the market's illogical, but use logic to support your narratives and to reaffirm how confident you are, right? And it can be taxing. It can be really, really, really taxing. So, and that's me saying that, and I've been doing this now for like 14, 15 years. So if you're feeling that way, if you're a newer trader, you've been trading 4 or 5 years, however long you've been trading, and you sometimes struggle with that, or you're still trying to learn, and you're like, oh man, I feel so dumb, whatever. Don't feel that way, right? You're learning a heightened level, essentially, of self-control and discipline that, trading's not cut out for everyone. It just isn't, right? But the people who are traders tend to hold a lot of self-discipline and very stoic characteristics. And that is what makes a successful trader, are those people who are able to, through the red and through the green, not be like, oh, I took an L, I lost money, or, oh man, I made $1 million. Like, you're able to stay relatively balanced and not cry every time you have a loss, or exuberantly celebrate when you have a massive win. It's finding the in-between where a lot of the strength can be found. But it is a very, very, very mental game in general. And it's the only job in the world where it's such a strong mental game where you're also you don't necessarily have someone to answer to, right? You only hold yourself accountable. At your job, if you work like a normal job, right? You have a boss, some level of a manager or whatever, unless you own your company, right? And you have expectations. You have to hit those expectations. And if you don't hit those expectations, then you're not doing a good job. You don't have that in the stock market. You are your own manager. And on top of that, you have to hold yourself to some level of responsibility with your actions. And that can be taxing and that can be hard to manage. So I'm just kind of level with you guys and know that, it happens to all of us and you will find your way eventually. What I can tell you is, and it's corny, but for a lot of people, don't give up because you'll find your way eventually. And that the path to getting there is very rewarding if you can get there and then see the fruits of your labor. And for some people, it takes a week. Some people it takes a month. Some people it takes 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, 20 years. It really depends. But having just that mental control in general will pass over to all other aspects of your life. And I think it's a very, very, very beneficial thing to get you through a lot of hard times. It is working out your brain. You work out your body, you work out your brain, and that's what I do. And that's why, like, this time of day, I'm hungry and I'm tired. I've been up for 7 hours. I went to the gym. I've laughed at the camera with you guys. I made some money, and now my brain's tired. My legs are tired and I want to eat food. So that's what I'm going to do. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. The last show for the week. I don't have a schedule for next week. I know I saw Toby, you wrote next week's streams. If you don't know, I am in the process of moving. I do not know when yet or anything, so I don't want to promise you guys certain days. What I can say, if you are not, follow me over on my X, the Twitter, at Atomcash. I'll put out an announcement whenever I am doing live streams that typically are days in advance, and then I typically remind you guys. And I'll try to be better about putting them on YouTube. I know I'm pretty not good at that. But follow me over on the X, my X handle over there. So for now, it's going to be more tentative, right? But when I do have the time, I'll bring you guys a stream. And if you're in the Discord, I'll bring you guys, hopefully, a Power Hour stream later today, unless I need to take a nap because I have a throbbing headache. I'm just trying to make it through the day right now. Anyway, have a great day, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, some will say you need an edge to trade. Well, I like to look at things from a different angle. That's always what we get right here on the Atomcash angle. Make smart decisions, guys. And remember, precision beats prediction every damn time. I will see you next time on the show.
The time has passed, and that's a wrap.